missing. You gotta stop, look and listen, 'cause you might be missing kissing. If you're traveling slow, you'll go a long, long way. First came the boogie, then the bunny hop, now the rumba samba, then the bop. Well, I don't know what's coming next, but this old world's in a terrible fix. So if you're traveling that way too, I'll tell you, friend, what you better do. You gotta stop, look and listen. Hey, you don't know what you're missing. You gotta stop, look and listen, 'cause you might be missing kissing. If you're traveling slow, you'll go a long, long way. You gotta stop, look and listen. You gotta stop, look and listen. You gotta stop, look and listen. You gotta stop. I've loved and lost again. Oh, what a crazy world we're living in. True love has no chance to win. I've loved and lost again. I ask you, what chance have I, when each love I meet just makes me cry? He loves a while, then says goodbye. I've loved and lost again. To be true to one alone don't seem to matter anymore. They tell you you're out of style unless you've had 3 or 4. I've loved and lost again. Oh, what a crazy world we're living in. True love has no chance to win. I've loved and lost again. To be true to one alone don't seem to matter anymore. They tell you you're out of style unless you've had 3 or 4. I've loved and lost again. Oh, what a crazy world we're living in. True love has no chance to win. I've loved and lost again. Once my soul was in sin and my heart was in shame. I didn't know Jesus, not even his name. Then I heard a voice say, won't you come unto me, and he will do for you what he's done for me. Give him a chance and let him prove it. His love is best of all. Give him a chance and let him show you. He'll answer when you call. His love is the sweetest. His promise is free. For he will do for you what he's done for me. a chance and let him show you. He'll answer when you call. His love is the sweetest. His promise is free. For he will do for you what he's done for me. Crazy, I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. I'm crazy, crazy for feeling so blue. I knew you'd love me as
when I get where I'm going, on the far side of the sky, the first thing that I'm gonna do is spread my wings and fly. I'm gonna land beside a lion and run my fingers through his mane, or I might find out what it's like to ride a drop of rain. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. I will shed the sins and struggles I have carried all these years, and I'll leave my heart wide open. I will love and have no fear. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, don't cry for me down here. I'm gonna walk with my granddaddy, and he'll match me step for step, and I'll tell him how I've missed him every minute since he left. And then I'll hug his neck. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. I will shed the sins and struggles I have carried all these years, and I'll leave my heart wide open. I will love and have no fear. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, don't cry for me down here. So much pain and so much darkness in this world we stumble through. All these questions I can't answer, and so much work to do. But when I get where I'm going, and I see my Maker's face, I'll stand forever in the light of His amazing grace. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, oh, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. Hallelujah.
Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat. Well, you are here today with broken hearts. There are no words that can adequately express how you're feeling today. But today in this place, you're not asked for words. You're only asked to feel the love and welcome the safety and the compassion of the people that are surrounding you today with care and understanding and their presence. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Eunice Friesen. I'm really honored to be here as we gather today to remember the life of Currie Wood. Thank you all for coming, and welcome also to those who are with us on the live stream. There's no better act of service than you could do today than this, to walk alongside this family in their grief, today and in the coming days, one of the hardest days of their lives today. It means that you are celebrating the fact that Currie's life made a big difference in your lives as well as theirs. Now, I didn't have the opportunity to know Currie, but I have certainly enjoyed getting to know him through the eyes of his daughters and the eulogy that I got an advance copy of and his obituary. But no one tells the stories like his friends and family tell the stories. So I wanted to let you know that there will be an open mic after a couple of tributes are read. And I wanted you to know that now so that you can take some time to maybe think of a story or a memory that you might want to share, and also give you a little bit of time to screw up your courage a bit if you need to do that. So to open, though, I would like to invite Myra to read Currie's eulogy, followed by Jennifer, who will have a tribute as well.
It was kind of a last-minute decision to do this. We had asked originally Eunice to read for us today. Jennifer and I are kind of recovering from a little bit of a cold flu activity here after Christmas, so bear with me for my voice today. But on the way here, I kind of felt that I needed to read it, or wanted to read it, I guess is perhaps the better way to put it. Dad was the youngest of 17 children and born in Regina, Saskatchewan to Frank and Ruth Wood in 1939 during tough times. A big turning point in his life was around the age of 9, when the Wood family moved to the ranch located near Dunelda, Alberta. He spoke often of the hard work and the happy memories on the ranch. Saskatoons were so plentiful that first year, Grandma made all the kids their own Saskatoon pie, a whole pie for him to eat, something that was unheard of before the move, and the blessing of a garden full of vegetables. There were 2 gardens, one for the kids so they could go and eat carrots, peas, and all the other vegetables as they liked, and one that was off limits to the kids so that Grandma had enough to put up vegetables for the winter. There was so much to explore and do on the ranch: swimming by the beaver dam, racing boats down the creek, playing tag in bare feet by running along the top of the corrals. He and his dog Sparky would set out for the day exploring the land, returning only when supper time came. When he got a bike, he would ride around the block after supper each night. Not a city block like most people think of now, but this is a rural block we're talking, 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers approximately. With these fond memories, there was lots of hard work as well. Putting crops in, putting up hay, caring for cattle and horses, as well as harvesting. Dad talked of doing chores before and after school. As he got older, he was expected to work with the men, throwing and stacking bales on the hay wagon to unload and restack them again near the yard. There was also family time. 2 of his brothers ran the ranch, so Dad grew up with these nieces and nephews. His brothers and sisters would come and visit, especially during the summer, so he was close to many in his family. Spending money was hard to come by, but Dad was creative. When he was older, Dad started selling some of his lunch. For example, a roast beef sandwich with homemade bread, homemade donuts, apple turnovers, or whatever other goodie Grandma had packed, gained a good price from the town kids that may not have had the luxury of homemade goods. As Dad started in his adult life, he tried a few different jobs. He worked as a hired hand, rented and farmed some land. Dad also worked at weather stations in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, and Watson Lake. Family was important to Dad. He married in 1965 and had 2 daughters, Jennifer and myself, Myra. After Jennifer was born, Dad completed his welding apprenticeship, achieving the 2nd highest mark in all of Alberta that year. He went on to weld in Edmonton and for a mine in Sparwood, BC for a period of time. All of this work was to help him reach his dream. Deep in his heart, Dad longed to be farming. Dad believed that by growing up on a farm, you learned about life, birth, growth, and death. The children learned the values that lasted a lifetime. In 1974, this became a reality when the mixed family farm near Derwent, Alberta was purchased. Hard work and honest sweat, those were building blocks of Dad's character. One of his measures of success was that his family always had clothes on their back, shoes for their feet, and enough food to eat. He met and surpassed that yardstick. Dad believed in and championed us girls to start independent, successful lives. For Dad, farming was not just a job, it was a lifestyle. He was happiest caring for the land and animals, but he did work off of the farm for part of the time he had the farm. He started his own welding business, welding for farmers on a pipeline and for oil companies in the Elk Point area. He was highly sought after by the pipeline and oil rigs because of the quality of his pressure welding. It was exceedingly rare for his work to fail. Eventually, he gave up welding in the oil patch and did welding for himself and local farmers. Every job he did was to a high standard. If a farmer brought something and tried to convince him to do a half job or to fix it the way they thought it should be fixed, he would explain what needed to be done and why. He turned down jobs when he knew the fix wouldn't work. People would take the work to someone else who would do the half job, but it would break again soon. Many times, these same people brought the work back to him to be fixed correctly, and over time they learned usually it was easier and faster to have it done correctly the first time. Over time, Dad stopped welding for others and decided to semi-retire. For Dad, being semi-retired meant that he put up his own hay, sold the bales, did some custom grazing. But you can't take the country out of the boy. Working the land was still his love. For many years, he worked for one of the neighbors during spring and fall to help with seeding, fertilizing, and harvesting. All of his equipment had been open cab, so working in air-conditioned enclosed cab while listening to a radio was like sitting in his easy boy chair. In his mind, life didn't get much better than this. He drove to the neighbor's field, jumped on the tractor or the combine, closed the door, and got paid to do something that he loved. Eventually, Dad found the days getting longer and harder to do. Walking from his truck to the equipment at the beginning or end of the day was too much. One of his heart valves was not functioning properly, and it needed to be replaced. He had a choice of getting a mechanical or a cow valve. Dad said that since he'd been a farmer all his life, he wanted to get the cow valve. The new valve was a lease on life for him. He resumed doing spring and harvest work again, and he was able to resume doing some woodworking. He spent hours cutting, building, staining, and varnishing his projects. He took items to the farmer's market to sell and ended up doing quite a few custom jobs for people. Over the years, he went from being the new kid on the block to being the old-timer in the neighborhood. He established friendships with several people in the community. This included Jan and Ken Bobber, Rupert and Mariel Wood, not related to us, but they just lived down the road, and Marshall and Kathy Stashnik. He enjoyed a good cup of coffee and a visit. He kept up on the news of the community. When Jennifer or I called to catch up with him, we heard about what was happening in the community and what his friends had been up to. Extended family was also important to Dad. Starting in 1978, the farm was the location for over 20 Wood family reunions. The reunion was held in different locations over the year. However, Uncle Currie's became a regular location for many times. He loved having the reunion at the farm. It was a time to catch up with his siblings, his nieces, his nephews, and his cousins. Many generations of nieces and nephews and cousins. Dad was known as Uncle Currie to many generations of the woodpile. Over the course of the weekend, there were rides on the hay wagon, bonfires, and in the later years, fireworks. There were always spirited games of aggravation, potluck meals, ice cream, dodgeball, talent shows, and many pots of coffee. Dad sold the home quarter and moved to Claremont in 2019 to be closer to Jennifer and I. He found a home with a large garage that allowed him to continue to putter with woodworking. Dad built all sorts of things, from kids' tables and chairs, a convertible chair, step stool, shelving, and cupboards for his new place, candy bowls, rocking horses, whirligigs, and more. If Jennifer or I mentioned we needed something or would like something, plans were usually quickly underway, resulting in custom dressers, bedside tables, and benches. Dad was often there when there were various projects on the go, and often he said he was the straw boss. Be it giving directions to put in a new fence post or a new set of stairs on the deck, he gave his input and always a helping hand. Jennifer and I visited often, and Sunday night suppers at Dad's house was a regular occurrence. He always told us we didn't have to come, but we went anyways, because we didn't have to. We wanted to. Dad's heart was still with the land and farming. Living in town was not his first choice, but when he always maintained his connection to the land by driving around the countryside to check on the crops. Did they start yet? Were they ready to swath? Had they been combined? Did it look like it had been a good crop or not? Jennifer and I often got those updates. He kept his eye on the geese that had nests within a couple blocks of his house, and always had an update for us on the number of goslings and the stage of their development. There was a garden in his backyard that he always said was Jennifer's and mine, but he was always involved in deciding what to plant. Always came out to supervise the seeding, monitored the growth and development of the plants, and even watered it more than once for us. He may have weeded a few times too. He researched different types of potatoes and tomatoes each year, trying to find the best ones for the soil in the garden. We are heartbroken by Dad's passing. However, we are so thankful that he was able to remain at home on his own until the end. That was one of his biggest wishes. He called it dying with his boots on, and he got it.
Good job.
It's okay.
No, I thought I'd go first. You can get together. So did you know that pumpkin blossoms open first thing in the morning and only last for around 4 hours? And during that window, that time frame, the flowers must be pollinated in order to have pumpkins in the fall. Dad explained that to me this summer. He was not a gardener, but he automatically thought about what it takes to grow things and tend things. So how did this conversation come about? Well, it was smoky this summer because there were so many forest fires, and smoke inhibits the bees. So the bees don't come out when it's smoky. And if the bees aren't there, they're not going to pollinate the flowers. And if the flowers don't pollinate, there's not going to be any pumpkins. So if you're a practical farmer, that means that you need to have a crop and you need to figure out how you have a crop. So he got thinking about that. He got onto his computer and researched and figured out how to tell apart the different kinds of flowers, the male and female, and how to manually pollinate them. So he was out in the morning as they were in bloom. He was out every morning going to the open flowers and pollinating the other ones so that we were sure that we had pumpkins. And of course we had pumpkins in the fall. I've written and rewritten what I wanted to say so many times, and there's not enough words, but so much to say, so I just want to share a few stories. Dad had really high specific values, so one of them was, like, for example, not fighting. Although I'm sure there might have been a little bit of that now and then with his brothers, I don't know. Anyway, one time he told me when he was in high school that, there were the town kids and the farm boys, and that one of the town kids wanted to fight him, and so he kept bugging my dad to fight him, and my dad turned him down, and finally had enough and said, okay, I'll fight you. So they met after school, and so this young town boy had taken boxing lessons. So here he was in front of my dad, doing all the fancy footwork and jabbing and all the rest of it, and Dad said he just stood there and let him do that for a while. He took a couple jabs at him, and then Dad just gave him one shot and knocked him to the ground. And this really was a story about not fighting, because it always ended with, well, it wasn't a fair fight. I should have never fought him. It wasn't fair because on the farm I did chores every morning. I helped with everything. Of course I was stronger with him. So don't fight, but sometimes you have to. Myra mentioned that he had a high standard for his work, and he always did. And if something was worth fixing or doing, it was worth doing and fixing properly. So when he started welding at the mine in BC in Sparwood, it was a union shop, so he had to have a welder's helper. And so this welder's helper was supposed to do some of the pre-work for him, grind down things, get it ready, all these different things. Well, there wasn't a helper that could do things to my dad's standard. So he went to the boss and he said, I don't need one of these helpers. They just slow me down because they do a half job of getting it ready, and I have to finish it myself anyways. And the boss said, well, I understand it, but it's a union shop and you have to have one. You're going to have one. So Dad's solution to that was that he had the welder's helper sit there and hand him welding rod all day. That's all he got to do, hand him the welding rod, so that, because he could do it faster and better just doing it on his own. Dad was also jack of many trades. There were so many things that he could figure out how to do. He was a welder, but he was part construction, part plumber, part electrician, you name it. And when it came to things on the farm, he was able to fix whatever it was. So he had a 1951 green international truck. That was the staple always around the farm. And so if that broke down, no problem, he could fix it. Motor needed to be rebuilt, no problem, he could fix that too. He always let us help, so one time when he was rebuilding the engine, he had all the pistons out and was putting all the rings on the pistons and all this kind of stuff. I came and wanted to help, and so he gave me a piston and had me putting the rings on, and then I dropped it and hit some of the other things that were, at any rate, so all the rings came flying off the pistons, and I know that, I caused him a whole lot more work than I helped that day, but he always was happy to have us there, and believed that we could do anything that we wanted to. He put together my first car, and when I was in second year university, I had to do clinical rotations at the hospitals, and the bus schedule didn't allow me to get there on time. So, true to Dad, he bought 2 old Honda Civics, one in which the motor was blown, one in which the body was in good shape. He took the 2 of them and he made me a car. I thought I was like on the top of the world. I had this little Honda Civic, and so the weekend came, I came home to get it and take it back to university with me, and he told me, he says, okay, he says, I need you to go out and take off that back tire. And okay, no problem, Dad, whatever you need, I'll help you. So I take the tire off, jack it up, take it off, block it up, roll the tire down to the shop, into the shop, and say, here you go, thinking he wanted to do something with the tire. And he just looked at me and said, okay, thanks, you can go put it on now. And I'm like, what? And, I'm sure I thought other things than that. Any rate, so he said something along the line of, well, now we both know that you can do it. So when I had my first flat tire on my own, there was no hesitation. I got up, took off the flat tire, put on the spare, and carried on my way. So for those and so many other reasons, we appreciate all the time that we had with Dad.
I think the hard part's over now. I couldn't look up while I was reading the eulogy because I was pretty sure I would break down and cry and not be able to read it. So I apologize for not looking up for the most part. As Jennifer said, we have a lot of great memories with Dads, and hard to put them all, to take the time to put them all into words. We'd be here for a very long time. So a couple of the ones I wanted to share is when you live on a farm, calving time means checking the cows on a regular basis. That kind of became ingrained in Jennifer and I. We came home on the bus one day after school, and Mom and Dad weren't home. So what would 2 good country girls do that live on the farm? You'd go check the cows. So off we went. Now let's be real. What are 2 young girls going to do while they're checking cows? If there's a problem, not much. We don't have cell phones. This is way before cell phone time. And so it's not like we could have called Dad to ask what to do. So off we went to check the cows. Really, probably was avoiding homework, really was what it was. So we get out to the field where the cows are, and lo and behold, we find a calf laying in the cold water. Mama cow is encouraging baby calf to get up. Baby calf is cold and not able to get up. Jen and I to the rescue. Baby calf must come out of the water. We decided it must happen, and we need to get it somewhere warm. So off we go, running to get straw and build a warm spot for the calf. Then became the next debate: who was going to get the calf out of the water? Jennifer hadn't changed out of her, I don't know if you grew up in the same time era as I did or the same generation. You had good clothes and you had home clothes. Jennifer hadn't changed out of her good boots. And so I ended up being the volunteer to go in there. She still had those new boots on and Mom's warning ringing in her ears, don't you dare wreck those new boots. So while I was the volunteer to go into the shallow water to drag the calf out of the water, Jennifer took over cow watch detail. Cow watch detail ended up being more along the lines of Jennifer saying, watch, the cow moved. Stop, the cow moved. After a few attempted starts and a few aborted attempts, when the mama cow made a few steps in our direction, we managed to get the calf out of the water and onto the straw. We dried off the calf the best we could with the straw and covered the calf in the straw, and it wasn't long before Dad arrived. The calf got to spend some time in the basement. Jennifer and I didn't take care of that part, Dad did. And Dad always called the calf lucky. Dad didn't seem too surprised that we got the calf out of the water. He seemed to always believe that we could do whatever we put our minds to. For anyone who knew Dad and his cattle, you know that Dad liked his cattle on the tame side. If they were wild or spooked easily, they didn't stay on our farm very long. Sheldon, Jennifer, and I were at Dad's farm for a visit many years ago, and one of Sheldon's first encounters with handling cows was when we were trying to get a cow in who had hoof rot. Now, if you know anything about cows, cows with hoof rot don't move too fast because their hoof is rotten. They got an infection in there and they're slow and it's painful, so they don't move too fast. The cow had taken a turn and was headed out of the corner of the corral where we had her in, and the cow was moving at a fast trot. Dad yelled out to Sheldon to step in front of the cow and stop her. Sheldon swears the cow was running like a freight train and would have seriously injured him, while Dad always said the cow was barely moving. Who was right, I don't know. All I know for sure is the cow made another circle around the pen before she got her shot of antibiotics that day. And there's a couple of sayings I just wanted to share that Dad always said, and they've stuck with me through the years. If it's warm, take a coat. If it's cold, suit yourself. To this day, you will find in my vehicle a coat, a winter coat in the middle of spring, summer, fall, and winter. It doesn't cost any more to keep the top half of the gas tank full than the bottom half. Also very true, and to this day, I get to a half a tank and I'm looking for a gas station. Perhaps Dad should have imparted that upon Sheldon once or twice. It is better to have taken something along and not needed it than need it and not have it. So in my car, you will also find, besides my coat, you'll find a winter bag with toque and mitts and assortment of ski pants and heavy boots and everything else along the way. Do I ever need them? Have I ever needed them? Rarely, but they're always there. Sheldon didn't appreciate that wisdom when Caden was little and we traveled, because I kept handing stuff out for him to pack in the car when we were going on a trip, and he's like, there's no more room in the truck. And I'm like, better to have it and not need it than want it and not have it. And the last, but never least, wisdom imparted by Dad is there's no such thing as an inch and a bit. He was a true craftsman, and so it was an inch and a half, an inch and 3/4, an inch and 3/8. It was exact, not an inch and a bit. And I know there was a few times where Sheldon was helping Dad, and Sheldon was measuring something, and it was an inch and a bit. And Dad's like, there's no such thing as a bit, go measure again. So Sheldon has gotten better at the inch and a bit. It's now a little more direct.
Thank you both, Jennifer and Myra. Those were great stories and well done. So now is the opportunity. If any of you have a story or a memory that you would like to share, I'm going to step away from the mic, and please come on up, and we would love to hear what your fond memories of Currie.
Hello, everybody. I am Marshall Stashniak, and it is absolutely an honor for me to say a few words about Currie. I think I'm going to be like Myra and have a hard time maybe doing this, but we'll see if we can get going. So it was 2004 that my wife Kathy and I bought a farm 2.5 miles from Currie at good old Derwent, Alberta. And that's when Currie and us became neighbors for 15 years. I think I start by telling you how we first met Currie. When we bought this place, it had a good house, but it needed new siding. So soon after we bought it, I started the siding project. And then I just getting started, and there was Currie in my driveway. He had a hammer in one hand and a tool belt around his waist, and he'd come to say hello, and he thought the best way to welcome us was to help us with the project. So here's a guy I've never met, and we go to work. And I'm feeling guilty because none of my family showed up, none of my friends showed up, but he's working harder than I am. And every day I'd thank him and say, Currie, it's okay if you don't come tomorrow. And he would just say, I don't finish a job half done. So he'd be there the next day. So it took us four days to finish that siding. And he worked and worked, and we got that job done. And I got to know a lot about Currie in 4 days, and I actually got to know a lot about you, probably more than you want me to know in those 4 days. And from then on, I knew this guy was going to be an awesome friend and a great neighbor. And it was just like magic. If something broke, he showed up. I don't know why, but he just knew. He just had a sense. Just to tell you how much he helped us, I have a couple of stories. So every winter, Kath and I would go on a winter holiday for a week. And Currie volunteered to take care of our place, and he'd come 3 times a day, let our dogs out. And one winter we left. A couple days later, we had a wicked blizzard. There was like over 1 foot of snow with really strong winds. And it's not an exaggeration. There were 10-foot drifts in the road between his place and our place. So you can depend on Currie. He walks for half a mile to a neighbor between us, pounds on his door, gets him to take him to our place in a sled and a snow machine, and then he lives at our house for the rest of the week and taking care of our place and our dogs. And I asked him, well, how about your place? Oh, my place was fine, you know. So he takes care of our place. I also asked him, I said, Currie, why didn't you just phone Randy and get him to come and pick you up on the snow sled instead of walking in snow that was literally waist deep? He says, well, if I had phoned him, he might have said no, but he couldn't say no to me if I pounded on his door. So that was Currie. He was always there to help us. There's one summer, my 2 grandsons came for a while. They were 10 and 12, and they decided that they wanted to build a go-kart. And like, what do I know about building go-karts? So off we go to see Currie, and they didn't even get the story finished to what they wanted. And Currie was off into the bush, and he drug out a beat-up old winter sled and a couple of old ride-on lawnmowers that were junk and a couple of more pieces of equipment. I don't know what they were, and we had this great big pile of junk, and he salvages this piece and that piece, and he fabricates and he welds. And I bought a 10 horsepower motor and the clutch, and the rest all came from that pile of junk. That go-kart had rack and pinion steering. Yeah, and it went faster than it ever should have gone, and that go-kart's in our shed, and my grandkids come every summer and ride it when we'll remember Currie. We rented Currie's pasture after he sold his cows, so it was great for me. I didn't have to go check the cows every day, but I did. And I get to spend time with Currie, have coffee with him. We solved a lot of problems. And I think Myra and Jennifer talked about his love for cows, but I don't even know if they know how much of a cow whisperer this guy was. Like, my cows were on one side of the road in a pasture, and every once in a while we'd have to move them over to the pasture on the other side of the road. Most people chase and yell and scream and run them around. Not Currie. I just stood in the road and watched. He went in with a half a pail of grain and talked to them. They followed him single file, cross the road, car would stop, wait. Well, they'd go right into the pasture, he'd close the gate. It was amazing to watch. We raised purebred Black Angus, and every fall I would take a couple of bred heifers to the sale. And this was a pretty fancy purebred sale, and you had to halter break your animals. The heifers had to be led by a halter around the show ring when they were being sold. And it was, for me, it was almost like half a rodeo to get these animals halter broke to take them to the sale. And one spring, Currie says to me, let me try. I've been researching on the computer, and I've been looking up cow whisperer. He goes out there in a small little corral with a little bit of grain and a halter, and he puts the halter on gently and talks to them. And I kid you not, in like 2 days, he had those heifers following behind him like puppy dogs. It was just amazing. And of course, he had to come to the sale to make sure they behaved at the sale. And I am sure that I got more money for those animals because of how docile and calm they were. So I don't really know how to end. So I asked my 3 kids, what do you want to say? What should I say about Currie? And they said, well, don't get it too complicated. Just tell him your life is better because of him. And it was. So thank you, Myra, Jennifer, Sheldon, Caden, for sharing Currie with us. He was an amazing friend and neighbor.
And on the 8th day, God looked down.
Come. Yes, come. Yeah. We're slow. That's all right. I gave the nod too soon. Come on up. Yeah.
Sharon was hesitant in joining me, and I was hesitant in coming, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take time and just share a couple of things. And Sharon's my memory bank. So anyhow, one thing, I don't know if you remember, we were in Fernie seeing Bill and Pat, a close friend. He worked at the Sparwood mine.
Yeah.
And as I recall, Uncle Currie was welding then at Sparwood and at the Kaiser mine. And he said his dream was to have some property.
He always wanted to farm, yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
And because he was a type of man that he'd set his mind to a goal, and he fulfilled it. He was determined and patient, and he did what he had to do to fulfill that dream. And he was definitely precise when it came to woodwork and everything he did, welding, you name it. He's very, very interested in learning the right way to do things. Even if it was out of his wheelhouse, he'd still take time to investigate it and get the result he was comfortable with. Yeah.
And we're fortunate we have many pieces of things that he had built that we have, and I think all of our kids have pieces that he has. One thing I remember, I think the reunions used to be July 1st when they started way back. Well, you know, the last day of school is June 30th, and we're in Regina, and Glenn Jr. always wanted a perfect attendance. So if you didn't stay on June 30th to get your report card, you know, at 10 o'clock in the morning, you didn't get perfect attendance. So we were always late getting to the reunion because we had to wait for him to get this goal, which he achieved, I think, 8 out of 9 years. And I remember getting lost, and Uncle Currie and a couple of the other uncles laughing because, again, before cell phones, we're driving down this road, and they kept wondering, whose headlights are those that keep going back and forth, back and forth? Well, it was us. Finally, I think we stopped at a neighbor's, and I don't know if somebody came and got us, but we got there really, really late.
Yeah.
But our kids always enjoyed the family reunions. It was always a highlight, always something that we planned on doing as a family together, and are just really grateful for the time that your dad opened up his farm, you know, for us to be there, because it was certainly something different for city kids to be there. It was something that we were all really enjoyed.
And there's a lot of fond memories from the family reunion too, and I'm sure after the slide show.
Yeah, we'll see it all. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Sheila, Myra's sister-in-law, and Jennifer, she's just as much a sister-in-law. I met Currie. He come to our campsite to go camping. Well, he come up in this little Boeing 77 or something, very small. Of course, we chuckled, and he was so happy, he like he had $1 million. I go up the next morning to the campsite. He's washing his face in the pan. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm getting a wash. I said, my son, I said, look, we got trailers, you can come in and get a wash. Oh, he said, this is how I does it, and he's doing that, and off he goes. And we got to know Currie quite well coming camping, and he was the king. When Currie showed up, everybody bowed. They got an extra golf cart for him, and then when he come, they were gone. Got to go, Dad's here, Dad's here. And I've often said to him, I said, do you know you're a king? You're special. And this time, like a few summers ago, I parked my trailer out in his driveway in Claremont. And I'm in a rush. Somebody was coming to look at it, to buy it and whatnot, and I'm rushing. I back up fast. I hit his garbage can. I said, Currie. I said, what? I said, I hit your garbage can. And he grinned and he said, did you hurt the garbage can? No, but I dented my vehicle. But I mean, we did get to know Currie. Very, very nice man. I'm so, so happy that I did get to meet him, and he made me so much stuff over the last few years and so many good memories. He was such a sweetheart, and I love these girls.
Anyone else? Sometimes it's hard for me to tell whether you're shifting in your seat or thinking about getting up.
Eighth day. God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle a calf and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, have to wait lunch until his wife's done feeding visiting ladies, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painin' from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners, somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
stories that we hear with the photos. It's hard to capture a life in an hour, but you've done it well today. Good job. Currie had many gifts, and wanted to just talk about a couple. There were lots, and even as you were talking, Marshall, I thought about his, how helpful he was as a neighbor. His standard of excellence that he just put into everything that he did. How diligent and determined a man he was. But I did narrow it down. I had a big long list, but I narrowed it down to a few that I just want to touch on. Currie had the gift of hospitality. Hospitality is caring for others with respect and acceptance by making them feel welcome and at home, as each of you did at the Wood family reunions. When we're hospitable, we empower our guests with openness and trust, and we give of our possessions and our energy selflessly in the interest of bringing joy to others. Hospitality is an expression of trust, and it always resonates gratitude back to its giver. I am sure that Currie got just as much enjoyment out of those gatherings as any one of you did. Currie also had the gift of creativity. Creativity is the power of imagination. When we're open to inspiration, our originality is ignited. With creativity, we are resourceful and intuitive, like building one car out of two, pulling together a go-kart from bibs and bobs found in the woods. Well, Currie could figure anything out, and he was truly a jack of all trades. He could build anything, whether it was meant to be serviceable or whether it was just a fun whirligig or toy. That was his creativity. When we are creative, we solve problems in new and surprising ways, and we know how to play. Creativity connects us to the beauty of the world around us in sign and design and color and movement and ideas and words, and it allows us to bring something lasting into this world. And I have a feeling that most of you in this room have something that Currie made that will stay with you for years to come. Creativity truly brings our gifts to fruition. Well, Currie also lived his passion in farming. Passion is a deep excitement or an emotion towards something or someone. We give it our full focus and our attention, and it brings us joy. We hold deep gratitude for the things we love and that we are passionate about. Passion fills our spirit with enthusiasm and inspires us to open our hearts. It allows us to see past trivial things, but to look ahead at what is beautiful and purposeful in life. Passion helps us to connect with life's qualities and values, as your dad so richly did. Passion is truly a force that sets spirits free. Well, Currie also shared the gift of respect. Respect is honoring the earth and all living things, as farmers do. And respect is an attitude of honoring ourselves and others as people of value. In particular, Currie honored his daughters as people of value. He encouraged them, and he trusted that they would be able to take care of themselves in anything that they did. When we treat others like we would like to be treated, we raise the level of trust and peace in our relationships. His respect for you is a gift that has given you such a sound foundation and has truly enriched your lives and made you who you are. And last but not least, Currie shared with you his gift of love. Love is at the center of our being. It's a vital force that gives us energy and direction. Love is an irresistible attraction or affection for a person, a place, an idea, or even for life itself. Love is cherishing others and treating them with tenderness. Love thrives on acceptance and appreciation, and it has the power to heal. When it's nurtured by commitment and seasoned by kindness, like Currie had. It's truly our greatest gift. And in the face of grief like today, The virtue of love shines brightest. It offers solace and strength. Love serves as a tender embrace, a gentle reminder of the cherished memories shared, and also a healing force that nurtures wounded hearts. It brings forth unity, empathy, and compassion, and it envelops grieving people with support and understanding. Through love, we honor the lives of those we've lost, keeping their spirits alive within our hearts. May love's enduring power now bring you comfort and peace during this difficult time and during the days ahead. These virtues, these qualities of character, love, hospitality, creativity, passion, respect, and so many more are things that Currie shared with you. They're still in your very DNA as his family. And they're in every act that he did for you and shared with you as his friends and family and siblings. Going forward, whenever you do something that Currie taught you or showed you or was an example for you, you can do so in memory of him. And if you notice someone else doing something like Currie would have done or reminding you of him, take a moment to thank them for reminding you of your dear friend, for reminding you of your father, your grandpa, your brother, and your uncle. So now we're going to go across the hall where there's lots of food and coffee, and you can take some time. I noticed how difficult it was to get you in from your visiting out there, so I know there's a lot of visiting to be done, and now's the time to go and enjoy that. If you wish to make a memorial donation, please do so to the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I didn't write it down, but I think I remembered it right, yes. I'm going to close with just a bit of a commendation. A commendation prepares us for that final separation from those we love. And I think this one suits Currie. You can hold the hand of someone near and dear to you while I read this, or you can bow your head or put the hand over your heart, whatever feels comfortable for you. Currie, may your love be reflected in all who knew you, and may you continue to live on in the lives of those you leave behind. Your legacy is a memory of a great name and a great example. And so, into the freedom of the wind and the sunshine, we let you go. Into the dance of the moon and the planets, we let you go. Into the wind's breath and the hands of the star maker, we let you go. And into the sadness and smiles of our memories, we let you go. Go safely, go with love in your heart, and may you forever be at peace.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old.